I've had one lady came to prayer school one time, years ago, many years ago, came with a friend, and she walked out of there and looked at that woman, and she said, I didn't understand a thing that she said. I don't ever want to go back and hear her again. But it worked on her. Now, she to this day couldn't tell you a thing that I said. Absolutely did not connect in her head at all. But it didn't take very long before those words were so stirring in her spirit that she couldn't help but come back. And now she's one of my closest friends and been in our church for 14 years, something like that, 13, 14 years. Strong believer. Why? Because there are things, what I'm saying to you today, they're spiritual truths with spiritual language, and they are realized. The Holy Spirit will bring them to light. If you just give Him an opportunity, you'll be praying along sometime and go, oh, that's what she meant. Oh, I get it. I get it. Or maybe you'll never even put two and two together, but it will happen because He shines light on these things. And if you got nothing out of this today but just an eye-opening that the realm of the Spirit and your place in it, your place in prayer, how big, the height, the depth, the breadth of it, the adventure of it, the power that's in it, the opportunity. Psalm 123. And you are to be commended, and your pastors are to be honored, because these are the kind of things you don't say this to every crowd. You don't talk like this to every group. Psalm 123:2. Behold, as the eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, and as the eyes of a maid to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, until He has mercy and loving kindness for us. One time I was in a back room in a church, a rather large one. It's a big, fairly big area in a church. And Brother and Sister Hagen were there, and Keith and Phyllis Moore, many of you may know of them. And at that time, they were serving the Hagens. And Phyllis is one of the most proficient servants I have ever met in my life. She takes it to an almost incomprehensible level of anything I've ever seen. Her ability to discern and judge is remarkable. And we're friends with the Moores, and we were in this room, and of course, she was there to watch for Sister Hagen. Well, this was after a service. Brother Hagen had been ministering. And in this room, there were several sitting areas and table and chairs and quite a number of people back there. So I was sitting with Phyllis, talking to her. And the way we were sitting, Phyllis was facing me, but watching Sister Hagen. Her eyes were on her. Sister Hagen was several feet away, talking with someone. And Phyllis and I were talking, kind of catching up and just talking away. But Phyllis would look and look and look. And she suddenly looked at me and said, she wants her purse, I've got to go. Now, all this time she's looking at Sister Hagen. I'm kind of watching too. I'm looking, I wonder what we're looking for, but I'm going to look too. And she had seen just a glance flash across Sister Hagen's face. Just some tiny little motion that she made, and Phyllis said, she wants her purse, she's ready to go. See you later. Whoop, she's gone. As a maid watches to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord. Now, Phyllis was not only watching that there would be some motion or indication, but she knew what it meant. You know, how did she know she didn't want to drink water? How did she know she didn't feel well? How did she know she wanted to get away from a certain person? How did she know? How did she know? Could have been 100 different things, I guess. But she knew exactly what she wanted. Phyllis grabbed Miss Hagen's purse, took it to her, and out the door they went. She was right on, 100% right on. How did she know that? That's what happens in these waiting times, where you're watching. This is a little different now. This is not the submitting. You're always prepared to submit, but this is not the on-purpose submitting. This is the watching for the move, watching for the slightest breath, the slightest change. Do you remember Jesus said in John, "Out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water"? This he spake of the Spirit, which had not yet been given. The Holy Spirit flowing through you, his operation is that he's always moving. And your job, if you will, your pleasure, is to follow that movement. And there are times where it's very big and dramatic and obvious, and there'll be a sudden change, a big change, a strong awareness that we're somehow moving from glory to glory, you know, or stronger in prayer, or louder, or there's a demonstration. But really, the valuable time with him is where you're watching him and watching for the slightest change in the breeze. Little things, ever so little. It's not outward. It's not feelings. It's not mental. Though there may be pictures that come to your mind with it. We're not against that, but that's not what it is. Your mind should become under the influence. And if you're following him, your mind will train to engage in it so that it cooperates. And these wonderful thoughts and images come, but you don't want to go to that. You don't want to stop looking from in here to watching what's in your head. Sometimes there'll be things that you see and know on the inside, and there's no picture for it. You know. I remember one time in a prayer time, the group, all I can tell you is that for a very brief, just seconds almost, just very brief moment, I was in my inner man had opened up, and I knew I was, how can I say? I see I have even words to describe it, because I didn't see anything. There was nothing to be seen, but it was something I knew. And it was love. I made contact with love. Instead of, sometimes I think we have the effects of love and call it love, I made contact with love in a different dimension. And we were in prayer. And I believe that time of prayer helped, especially in a time when I was praying for my dad an awful lot. I believe that helped him find those places. He's the one that got the words for it. But there's no picture to it. I think about it and I'm blank. There's nothing. I have no words for it. I can't describe it to you. But I came in contact with it. I knew what it was. It's rich. And it changes you. Gives you things to hope for. Gives you things to believe for. An encounter, I was like in that room with that, and then I wasn't anymore. And it makes you long for it. It makes you on purpose have faith for it. It makes you, that when you do start to hear the right words, you start to take it. You accept it. You're ready. You recognize it. And you develop that by watching and just allowing your spirit to follow him. And you just, with whatever little twitch of unction. You have an unction from the Holy One. 1 John 2 tells us in 2 places, you have an unction